Welcome along to the Deep Dive.
Good to be here.
Today we're digging into a source called Jews and Conspiracies, and it presents a really, let's say, counterintuitive take on the U.S.-Iran nuclear negotiations.
It really does, because, we mostly hear about Israeli leaders like Netanyahu being very publicly against these deals, warning about a bad deal.
Right, the strong opposition narrative.
Exactly. But this source, it sort of flips that. It argues that maybe behind the scenes, the influential Israeli lobby in the U.S., well, it might actually be pushing for a certain type of agreement with Iran.
Okay, hang on. So all the loud objections we hear, the source is suggesting that's maybe not the full story, maybe more like political theater.
That's basically the claim, yeah. That the public statements are one thing, but the real maneuvering involves this lobby group potentially steering U.S. policy towards a very specific outcome in these talks.
And this lobby, the source claims, it has significant pull, enough to actually shape the negotiations.
That's the contention, that Israel isn't just reacting to U.S. moves, but through this lobby is perhaps actively trying to sculpt the deal itself.
Wow. And the source links this to what it calls a victim narrative. How does that fit in?
Well, the idea presented is that by consistently emphasizing the threats Israel faces, it helps maintain international support and maybe even masks its own strategic goals or its level of influence. Appearing threatened could be, paradoxically, a source of strength or leverage.
Appearing vulnerable to gain an advantage. Okay.
Precisely. And here's a key point from the source. The objective isn't necessarily to completely wreck the negotiations.
Oh, so not just no deal is better than a bad deal.
Apparently not, according to this analysis. It suggests the preferred outcome might be a partial agreement, one that, puts some limits on Iran, but crucially
low level of tension simmering. Managed anxiety almost.
You could put it that way, a state of controlled apprehension. Now, connect that back to Netanyahu's public criticism. The source argues that his very vocal disapproval could be, strategic. It potentially sets things up so if the deal goes through and has problems,
Israel can say, we told you so, and blame the U.S.
That seems to be the implication explored in the source, yes. It allows Israel to distance itself from any negative fallout, attributing it to American decisions, even if the outcome aligns somewhat with what the lobby was supposedly aiming for.
That's quite a complex picture. It's like playing both sides.
It's presented as a way to navigate a very difficult diplomatic landscape, essentially hedging bets.
And the source also touches on why maintaining Iran as a perceived threat might be useful for Israel, beyond just the nuclear issue.
Right. It suggests that having a clear adversary like Iran helps keep Israel's own security needs front and center, internationally and maybe domestically too. It kind of frames the geopolitical situation in a way that serves certain interests.
Okay, so let's recap the core argument from Jews and Conspiracies here.
Go for it.
Despite very public, very loud opposition from Israeli leadership about a deal with Iran, the source puts forward this idea of a hidden agenda. It suggests that Israel's lobby in the U.S. is actually working, subtly, to guide the negotiations towards a specific endpoint.
An endpoint that doesn't eliminate Iran as a nuclear concern entirely, but manages it, while Israel publicly maintains its opposition.
Exactly. Which leads to a pretty provocative question for you, the listener.
Yeah, think about this. If this kind of indirect, seemingly contradictory approach is how some national interests are pursued on the world stage, what does that really tell us about the nature of power, influence, and diplomacy today?
It definitely gives you something to chew on. That's all for this deep dive.